Here are 4 seeds that can raise your stroke risk. You probably ate one of them this morning without a second thought. Maybe you sprinkled them on your salad, stirred them into your morning oatmeal, or grabbed a granola bar loaded with them at the checkout counter. You felt good about it. Natural, heart healthy, safe. But here is what no one in the seed marketing world will ever tell you. For people over 60, certain seeds do not just fail to protect the brain. They can quietly push the vascular system toward the edge, and sometimes that edge is closer than you think. This is not a scare video. Seeds are not poison. But when we talk about stroke prevention and senior health, we cannot afford to let the word natural become a synonym for harmless. The aging brain runs on one thing above all else: consistent, effortless blood flow. Anything that disrupts that, even subtly, even gradually, becomes a risk worth understanding. Today, we are going to walk through 4 specific seeds that doctors are increasingly concerned about in the context of senior nutrition and brain health. Each one is widely praised. Each one is probably sitting in your pantry right now, labeled heart healthy, and each one has a vascular mechanism that most people never hear about until it matters. We'll start with seed number 1, and I want to warn you, this one surprises almost everyone who considers themselves health conscious. In fact, the very thing that makes it famous for protecting your heart may be quietly working against your brain. Seed number 1 is flaxseed. Flaxseed has one of the most devoted fan bases in senior nutrition. Omega-3s, lignans, fiber. The marketing writes itself, and there is real science behind some of those claims. Ground flaxseed in modest portions with adequate hydration can offer real benefits for people over 60. The word modest is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Here is what the wellness world consistently leaves out. Flaxseed is extremely high in phytic acid, a compound that binds to magnesium in the digestive tract before your body ever has a chance to absorb it. Magnesium is not optional for senior health. It is the mineral that tells your arterial walls to relax. It regulates vascular tone, keeps blood pressure from spiking without warning, and supports the kind of smooth, predictable flow that aging cerebral vessels depend on. When magnesium availability drops, vascular tone becomes unstable. Blood pressure does not just rise, it swings. Emerging cardiovascular research is increasingly clear that blood pressure variability, not just sustained high blood pressure, is one of the strongest predictors of stroke risk in adults over 60. Small vessel disease, white matter damage, silent strokes, these often begin not with a single dramatic blockage, but with years of pressure oscillation that fragile microvessels simply cannot absorb. There is another issue. Whole flax seeds, still common in breads, cereals, and bulk health foods, pass through the digestive tract largely intact after 60, because gastrointestinal motility slows with age. While they sit in the gut undigested, they draw fluid inward. For seniors whose thirst perception is already blunted, this creates a quiet dehydration risk. Thicker blood moves slower through tiny cerebral capillaries. That is a problem that does not announce itself with symptoms until it becomes something far more serious. Now, if flaxseed surprised you, seed number 2 is going to be even harder to accept, because this one has probably the strongest superfood reputation of anything we will cover today. And the mechanism that makes it risky has nothing to do with fat or calories. It has everything to do with what it does to your blood. Seed number 2 is chia seeds. Chia seeds have been called a superfood for so long that questioning them feels almost radical. But senior nutrition science is not about labels. It is about what actually happens inside an aging body. Here is the physiology. Chia seeds absorb up to 12 times their weight in water, forming a dense gel in the digestive tract. That property is excellent for satiety. It is potentially dangerous for hydration. After 60, total body water percentage declines. Thirst signals become unreliable. Many seniors already operate in a state of low-level chronic dehydration without knowing it. When dry or insufficiently soaked chia seeds pull fluid from surrounding tissue, blood plasma volume can dip. The medical term for what follows is hemoconcentration. Red blood cells and platelets become more concentrated relative to plasma. Blood viscosity rises. In cerebral perfusion, the flow of oxygen-rich blood to the brain becomes less efficient. This is especially dangerous in the early morning hours, the window when stroke risk naturally peaks due to circadian shifts in blood pressure. If blood is already slightly thickened from inadequate overnight hydration, and arterial walls are stiff from age-related changes, the combination creates a hemodynamic environment where ischemic events become far more likely. A clot does not have to appear overnight. The conditions for reduced perfusion can build gradually, one dry spoonful at a time. For people over 60 committed to heart health and stroke prevention, chia seeds are not forbidden, but they must be fully soaked, consumed alongside generous water intake, and kept to modest amounts. One well-prepared tablespoon is a very different thing from 3 tablespoons stirred dry into yogurt and eaten on your way out the door. Seed number 3 is one most people would never even think to question. It has been tied to longevity for thousands of years across multiple cultures. But there is a hidden layer to this seed that applies specifically to people over 60, and it involves the same silent mechanism that contributed to the previous two. Stay with me, because this one builds on everything we have covered so far. All right, sesame seeds are number 3 on our list. Sesame carries an almost mythological reputation for longevity. It appears in Mediterranean diets, Asian cuisine, and nearly every list of heart-healthy pantry staples. Most seniors consider it one of the safest foods they can choose. But in the context of senior health and brain health after 60, sesame seeds carry a concern that almost never appears on any label. Like flaxseed, sesame is high in phytic acid. The mineral binding effect is significant, particularly for magnesium absorption, but sesame adds another layer. It is heavily concentrated in omega-6 linoleic acid. Omega-6 fatty acids are not inherently dangerous. The problem is context. Most seniors in the modern food environment already consume far more omega-6 than omega-3, largely because of refined oils hiding in packaged foods. When daily sesame seeds are added on top of that existing imbalance, they contribute to a pro-inflammatory pattern that directly impairs endothelial function. Endothelial cells line every artery in your body. They produce nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for keeping vessels flexible and properly dilated. When nitric oxide production drops, vessels stiffen. When vessels stiffen, the brain becomes dependent on blood pressure staying within a narrow range to maintain adequate flow. Any variation, a stressful morning, a slightly elevated sodium day, a night of poor sleep becomes something the aging vascular system can no longer absorb gracefully. This is how high blood pressure stops being just a number and becomes an active stroke mechanism. And finally, sunflower seeds are number 4 on our list. Sunflower seeds are the most quietly underestimated seed on this list, not because they are the most harmful in isolation, but because they are the most universally trusted. They appear everywhere in senior nutrition culture: salad toppings, trail mix, snack bags marketed as heart-healthy alternatives to chips, and they do contain vitamin E and beneficial unsaturated fats. But real-world portion size is where the problem begins. Almost no one eats a single measured ounce of salted sunflower seeds. They eat handfuls. And each handful of roasted, salted sunflower seeds delivers a significant sodium load into a cardiovascular system that is already working harder than it did 20 years ago. Sodium drives blood pressure upward. More precisely, it drives blood pressure instability, those morning surges and afternoon spikes that hammer against arterial walls with every heartbeat. For people over 60 focused on stroke prevention, blood pressure consistency matters more than any antioxidant benefit. A daily salted seed snacking habit can quietly erode that consistency across weeks and months. No single day looks alarming. The cumulative effect is what eventually shows up on an MRI. The conclusion for all 4 of these seeds is the same. After 60, your brain's margin for vascular instability is thinner than it used to be. It values consistency above everything else. Small portions, proper preparation, adequate hydration. That is senior health in practice. Not a label, not a trending ingredient, not a superfood promise. Go check your pantry tonight and look honestly at what you are consuming and how much. Your brain does not care what the package says. It cares about flow.